Hi, we're Shannon and Jerry Arner.
And our dog, Betty White.
Your hosts of the Arner Adventures podcast.
Could we have named it something more creative? Probably. But it's the name of our blog. It's our last name. We're on an adventure. Yada, yada, yada. After owning our own business, working 24/7.
And don't forget a mental breakdown in between.
We made a lifestyle change and decided to make the most out of life.
We sold our house, most of our belongings, downsized, and moved to the coast.
We live life minimally, but fully.
We live each day as an adventure.
This show will help you learn how to live life more fully, with more intention, by experiencing more, and with less stuff.
We'll talk about our own experiences, interview others who have much to share by creating a spark in our lives.
Some days we'll share real-life ongoings of what we're going through, and others will talk about our favorite flavor of waffle.
Come join our adventure.
It's the Arner Adventures Podcast.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Shannon.
Betty White, our love muffin, is cuddled here right beside us for episode 39 of the Arner Adventures Podcast.
Today we have a Spark in Our Lives episode with someone who we just really get a spark out of with what they put out into the world to simplify things. We love all things declutter and organization.
That's right, we do. But before we get to our guest, let's get to our review of the week. Today's review comes from World Traveler. World Traveler says,
started listening after hearing the Graham Brown podcast. Love their concept of lifestyle. There is more to life than stuff. Get out, travel, enjoy conversations, taste the richness of life without the material things. That is what it's all about. This podcast is refreshing, and I'm glad I found it.
Wow, thanks so much, World Traveler.
Yeah.
That is so wonderful. Hearing someone who first found us in relation to Graham Brown, a world traveler, is humbling.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear that we can send a message that life is indeed more than just the material things, well, that's really what we wanted to do with the podcast, the blog, our platform. Thanks so much for taking the time to say that.
Yeah. And your reviews help to keep us inspired and motivated. And each review helps others to find out about us and to keep this thing moving forward. So please hit the subscribe button in the platform that you're on so that you'll be notified each time we have an episode drop.
Well, talking about inspired, that's what these Spark in Our Lives episodes are all about. And today's guest is a spark. Our guest is Caroline Roberts, the founder of the Simplified Island. We'll get into what that is, but Caroline has a similar story to ours where she and her husband made a radical change in their lifestyle, and we cannot wait to talk about it.
Well, should we go ahead and just get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, guys, we are super excited about our guest today. As we told you in the intro, a little bit about her, but we're going to go ahead and welcome her in. Our guest is Caroline Roberts, the founder and lead organizer behind the Simplified Island, where she and her team provide one-on-one decluttering organizing services right up our alley. She is based here on the Crystal Coast of Eastern North Carolina, but lucky for you, her and her team even work virtually on organizing products. And we're going to talk about a program that she just opened up for enrollment that all of you can get in on. I said products, I meant projects. Products, maybe she'll help you with your products too. But we're going to talk about that program that just opened up for enrollment last week that you can get in on, and we're going to get in on it. We're so excited. Welcome, Caroline. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to y'all. I feel like it is long overdue.
It is. It is. I feel like we've been trying to do this for a while, so I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Thank you. So what's Betty White doing right now?
She found a sunspot and she is sleeping in it. That's what her days consist of after her morning walk stroller ride. Is
I need a morning walk stroller ride.
Yeah,
That's
me
awesome.
too.
Her best sunbeam comes in the morning on the corner of one of the beds right through the window. And she takes advantage of it on a nice sunny day, man.
Yeah.
Smart girls.
Yeah, so she's napping.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we thrive on this type of conversation. So you're a breath of fresh air in our lives. And we know that those who are listening are just going to love this conversation. So we're really excited about it. And we're going to dive right in, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm so excited.
Okay. Well, we have a little bit of synergy with you about sort of how your journey towards water and towards the coast got started. And it sort of leads into how the Simplified Island got started. And I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about that radical change in your family's lifestyle and what brought you to the Simplified Island, if you don't mind sharing.
Yes, I would love it. Okay, so I have two boys. 2 little boys and married. My husband and I guess this was around 2015 was when my second child was born.
Mhm.
And before that, my husband and I both owned our own businesses, not the Simplified Island for me, but we both owned our own businesses. We had one child at the time, and like things were going really well. On paper, we had it all.
Yep.
And when my second child was born, I felt like I was losing control. I'm very much an achiever, and it's not like me to loosen up my grip on things. And with that second child, I realized I am drowning here. There were too many responsibilities. I was on lots of nonprofit boards and it was just a lot. And I realized I just couldn't keep up. I wasn't happy. And it was just, and I don't mean I wasn't happy in like burn it down kind of way, but
Right.
it just like something wasn't clicking. I couldn't really figure out why. And so at the time we had a pretty large house. I'm pretty sure I had enough entertainment paraphernalia to host the queen.
Sure.
And all of those things, she never came. I don't know why, but I could have hosted her. And I just started getting rid of things. And I don't know why. I wish I had some brilliant story on like how this came about, but I just started getting rid of physical belongings. And I don't know if you guys felt this way, but I just started feeling lighter and less chaos internally, more at peace.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of I just kept doing it. And then like fast forward a couple of years later, I kind of had things under control and still very much that achiever. Like really, we were checking all the boxes, and I was very good at checking boxes, by the way. And then at one point we decided to rent a place on Radio Island, actually, the big building with the red roof. We rented a condo in there. And as our like second home, we were going to test things out and see. And it was a tiny condo. So we went from like, a home of 3,400 square feet or something like that to our weekend home of like 700 square feet.
Okay.
And those weekends were the best times of our lives.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. And it was amazing how little we needed. And that was kind of the trigger of, okay, hold up. One summer, I decided to see if I could live there. So my husband would kind of need to be in our hometown for a while, during the week. And then I would have one kid, and one kid would be there with our nanny. And it was a little crazy. Right. But I made it happen. And I was able to work remotely and run this company remotely and pretty much live in this tiny condo. Well, tiny to us at the time. In this condo. Yeah. And it was amazing. And that's when we kind of went from, we were in the camp of, well, when we retire, we'll do these things, to why are we waiting? Like, we may not get to that point, for who knows why. So why are we waiting? Let's do this. It was a huge shock to everyone that we were selling our house. Yeah. And I know. Yeah. Yeah. And it was really scary because, like I said, on paper, we had everything. So like, why would you change that? Yeah. And it occurred to us that we were checking all the wrong boxes. We were checking boxes that other people unintentionally, and there's no ill will there, but that we picked up from other people. Yeah. Or, magazines or whatever. Like we were just checking the wrong boxes. And it was such a good lesson for me because I didn't know what was ahead of us. It took us a little while to sell our house. It was not the market that it is today, but we moved into this condo. My boys' first day of school in preschool were out of this condo where a lot of retirees were. And so I just will never forget. I will never, ever forget. We were in the elevator, going down from the 6th floor. And there were these retired men with their like coffee mugs, and they wrote like, "We hope you have the best day at school." And it was just like I wanted to like cry and throw up all at the same time.
They probably made their day. They were probably loving.
Oh my gosh, it was the best. So very long story short, that is how it happened. And I did not know where we were going to land, when we were going to figure out buying a home or anything like that. But I was willing to let go of that control. And we ended up buying the house that we're in the week before school got out due to COVID shutdown. So,
Wow.
like, somebody was looking down on us
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
saying, like, let's get these kids settled.
Right.
Yeah, it was amazing. So,
So
we
when
don't regret
you
it for a second.
right.
Right.
And I was thinking when you were like, been there, done that, I was thinking, I think that, and we had somebody on the podcast, Graham Brown, a little bit ago, where he was in corporate life and he drastic change, sold everything. And he, his wife, and his son like live sort of a nomadic lifestyle. They just live and they just travel the world all the time. And we were talking about how through no ill will, we end up living the quote unquote norm of what is expected of us. And then it's like, well, who sets that up? Who,
Right.
and I think that when you shift from that, people do think that you are crazy. Like they just think, what's wrong with you? And one of the questions I think about, and I don't know if you thought of this, Jer, is when he said that they were selling their stuff and they sold their big flat screen TV. And the next door neighbor said, "You're selling your TV?" And he said, "Yeah." And they said, "What are you going to do?"
Yeah.
He said,
Oh, he had some kind of, he's a funny guy. He's a British guy and he had all these quick little,
yeah,
that kind of humor, and
What are you
he
gonna
had something
do?
really
Yeah.
funny to say
I
to
mean,
him.
that's extreme. I'm not saying I have to live without a TV, but it was just kind of like the norm. Like, what are you going to do without a TV? But yeah.
And the interesting thing with Graham too, he was a real kind of a philosophical minded person. I don't know what his education was, but you could tell like his whole thinking is like, well, how do these structures get set up in the first place? And how many hundreds of years do they go back? And he kind of really breaks it down in a neat way where you really think about it. Yeah, how do these structures get set up? And at some point, somebody's got to strip them down and start new trends.
Yeah. It's hot here, Jer.
Oh, it's hot, all right. You gotta stay hydrated.
We've been traveling so much too, but it's easy to stay hydrated even when you're on the go and you don't have gallons of water by your side.
It sure is, with the help of Liquid IV.
Yep, Liquid IV is a hydration multiplier. It's a powder in a packet. You just throw a few of them in your bag and take them with you wherever you go.
Yeah, it's an electrolyte mix that you just add to your water. It delivers 2 to 2.5 times more hydration than water alone.
They have these really yummy flavors. Our summer go-tos right now are the strawberry and the pina colada. You know what I do sometimes is I throw a couple of packets of the pina colada, some ice and water in the blender, make myself a mocktail, hang out by the baby pool in the backyard. Oh man, I am good to go and hydrated.
That's a good afternoon, right?
Yes.
Yeah, getting creative. If you're someone who either has trouble getting your water in or just wants to get in the express lane with your hydration, you should definitely try Liquid IV.
For our listeners, if you go to their website, liquid-iv.com, and use code ARNERADVENTURES, you can save 25% off of your order and get free shipping.
We'll link it to you in the show notes too. Liquid IV, fueling life's adventures.
Do you think that the idea of, decluttering and sort of cleansing, purging is a new phenomenon, or do you think that it's just something that we're just now talking about?
I think there's always been that urge or the need for some people to be organized and clear of clutter. I think that's just like written in some people's DNA. And I think the difference now is that there's just the quantities of physical things, the quantities of things to do and the information to process, and just all of the inputs, physical and non-physical, are record highs. I wish I knew the statistic about, the inputs on someone's day in like the 50s compared to now. It's like we process as much in one day as they did in a year or something. But we can't possibly handle everything. So you have to set the priorities somehow. You have to rein all of that in, because if you don't know what you are about, maybe not forever, but for that moment, then like you're subject to anything. And my gosh, how exhausting is that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So during that time, what sort of were you just sort of like, I'm really thriving with this. I think I would do really well helping people with this lifestyle. And is that sort of what made you start the Simplified Island?
Well, so during that stage of purging, when we were still in our hometown, I had some girlfriends over, and I very wrongly had assumed that Marie Kondo was going to like take away my belongings. And that the whole process was too rigid and all of that. Now, how classic is that? I never read the books. That was my assumption based on the media. So
Yeah.
and I admit that. So a girlfriend came over and she was like, have you seen the Netflix show? I'm like, no, I'm not watching that. And she said, no, watch it. Like, it will relate. You will resonate with it. You have to watch it. And I did. And as soon as I did, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Like, this is amazing. This is exactly what she is doing with these people is exactly how I'm feeling right now. So I got on the email list of being a consultant, not really thinking a lot of it, but just kind of like, I'd like to stay in this world. Like, I'd like to just be part of it and see what I can pick up. And one week I was down in our little condo and I got the email that they were accepting applications to participate in a consultant training. And my heart stopped. Like, I mean, my stomach dropped. It was just one of those like very physical feelings.
Yeah.
It didn't go straight to my mind. It went to my body. I felt it.
Yeah.
And I have the most amazing husband in the world. And I said to him, well, I've got to do this. It does not make sense. People are going to think I've lost my mind even more. It could be that, so the you had to be qualified before you could even go to the certification course in Brooklyn. And I thought, well, I'm going to be qualified. So that's not a thing.
Right.
This may just be like a fun weekend in Brooklyn, or it may turn into something. Like, I don't know, but I've got to go, or else I'm going to be thinking about it forever. Right. And so, of course, he was like, yeah, let's do it. Whatever you need to do, I'm with you. And so I jumped the hoops to be able to go to the class, to be able to pay them to go to the class.
Sure.
You know how that goes. And as soon as I walked in, we were in the botanical gardens in Brooklyn. It was just gorgeous.
Yeah.
I felt like, I was with my people, there were people from all over the world. There were about 100 of us, men and women, mostly women, but men and women. And everyone had radically different stories, but we all came together based on focusing on the things that you love and getting rid of everything else that doesn't matter. And it was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome. So.
I love that.
Yeah, I can just almost picture
I
it
can
in my head how that would be.
I can too.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
You have this quote on your website where it says, after I KonMari'd my home, my husband and I made moves towards simplifying our lives, and we shifted toward living for the moment rather than thinking one day we will. I read that out loud to Jer, and I was like, oh, like I love that. I feel like, we didn't necessarily use the KonMari method. I guess in a way we sort of did unknowingly, but I think that is so well said, because that's what life is about. I think that so many people just sort of put off their dreams and everything, like you were talking about earlier, rather than.
It's so cliched, but we are not guaranteed tomorrow.
No,
right.
No.
And that doesn't mean you make reckless decisions.
Right.
And that you don't plan for, or prepare for tomorrow, but you can't put everything off.
Right.
You're not living,
Well, for us organization freaks who know what the KonMari method is, that we know it's wonderful, but for those who don't, will you sort of explain what that is?
Yes. So the gist of the KonMari method, it was founded by Marie Kondo. She is a Japanese lady who is absolutely precious. She has a method of focusing on the things that you love, the things that spark joy is her term, and discarding the things that you no longer need or that no longer spark joy. And she has an order in which you go through things like of categories. So it starts with clothing, and then books, paper, kimono is her miscellaneous term, and then sentimental items. And the idea is you start with something that for most people is relatively easy to go through and say, okay, I love this, I'm keeping this. And then you end with some, sentimental items that can be really challenging for people. I think the foundation of it, focusing on your vision of how you want to be living your life and what really brings you joy and what supports that vision, is the game changer. I think that is what so many organizing or decluttering type programs are missing is, well, not just do you like something, but is it supporting how you want to be living?
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Because I mean, I like a lot of stuff. I was in
Yeah.
Target last week, and there's lots of things I like. But, you know, a lot of that stuff doesn't support what I want to be doing with my life either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll see like every KonMari consultant, there's up to 600 now across the world. When I was certified, I think 2 years ago, gosh, was it 3? Oh my gosh. There were like 400 or 300, and now they're up to like 6 going on 7. But we all put our own spins on it because, I mean, she even said during the certification program, she wrote those books before she had kids, you know?
Ah.
So there is, in my opinion, there is a level of reality that is not taken into account in those books.
Okay.
So what I have done with how I teach the KonMari method and put my spin on it is really try to take into account, you know, people are busy, people are juggling a lot of priorities. You know, life is busy and not everyone can put everything on hold while they go through this method.
Right. Right.
So what I really like to do, the first step, and I think we've already talked about it, is know you're ready. You have to know you're ready. I have had people call me wanting to have me come help them declutter and have them organize their space, but they don't book, they don't follow up, they don't do, you know, that you can tell there's a lot of anxiety. They're just not ready. Like they might be ready for the outcome, but they're not ready to make the changes that are required to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You
I
know?
can see that.
Yeah, because a lot of processing going through stuff,
A
especially
lot.
sentimental stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And I mean, we all want like homes that look nice and have some order, I think. I mean, people want it on different levels, but everyone wants a little bit of order in their home. But are you willing to make the changes?
Yeah, I can think of a relatable thing about 10 years ago. My parents were moving out of their house in Cary into a retirement community, which was going to be a little apartment. So it's all about downsizing their stuff. So I sat there, used to go down once a week. I'd sit there with my dad, and he had moved a lot of stuff from the house into their 2-car garage so we could just see it all. But it seemed like every little thing, there's all this stuff, and I have a limited amount of time. And he would pick up something. You see this bottle opener? Let me tell you a story about this. And I was like, oh my God.
I've heard so many stories about objects. Yeah.
So that's the hard part, you know.
Yeah,
you get into the backstory on a little thing, and when you got so much to get rid of. And
I think and speaking of, you know, just getting older, and I know I've talked about this with people. I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the podcast before, but just thinking about stuff. When my grandmother passed away, she was a self-proclaimed pack rat. So I'm not going to like down her. She definitely said that about herself. She would keep everything, like cards we made her when we were little. I mean, just everything. I think one of the things that sort of was an awakening for me before we even made this lifestyle change was when she passed away. We in the family, as several of us, went into her home and had to figure out what to do with all of it. So I think I'm not saying, it's not fair that she did that to us, but it's almost like, do you want to be in that situation, or do you want your family to be in that situation mourning you and then figuring out what to do with all of your stuff? I think that had she thought about that situation for us, it would have made her really sad, you know? Sometimes when I think about that situation, I know that she would have never wanted us to be there. Like days and days of going through all of this, and then us all having to go, what do we do with this? What do we do with this? And it just took a massive amount of time and energy.
When you're thinking about going through someone's belongings, you said it, they didn't want their belongings to be a burden on you.
Right.
You know, I'm sure maybe there's somebody who does, but it's like, for the most part, they don't want their belongings to be a burden. And what I have reminded clients is, you know, what you treasure may not be what they treasure. Yeah. And so be open with your family. You know, what you think is fantastic could be radically different. I mean, I have from my grandparents, their salt and pepper shakers, because I have such vivid memories of being at their table and seeing these songs. I know when they got them, and we just always use them. But my grandmother would never have been like, I want you to have the salt and pepper shakers. Right. You know, it's just that. So I think it's important, you know, when you are thinking about leaving things for people, because I do see that a lot of like, well, so-and-so might want this. have the conversation with them.
Yeah. Do you want this?
Right.
Yeah. Do you use the salt and pepper shakers?
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Those are the
Okay,
ones.
that's what I love.
Yeah.
And then it's
Yeah.
functional. And then you
Right.
always think about them when you use it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
great. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so, so what is important to one person might not ever be what you would expect. But
Right.
I think we
having those
both love to see when
conversations.
it's not just there as a sentimental thing, but it's also functional. I think that's pretty
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm kind
Yeah.
of a sucker for that.
Yeah.
I do have a little owl behind me. That was my grandparents too. They traveled the world, and I can't remember what it's carved from. I'll have to ask my mom. But yeah, I do have some like knick-knack things. But
Yeah. Well, it sparks joy.
that's
You
right.
know?
It really does. Yeah, and it holds my books up.
Right. Okay. Functional.
Yeah.
Functional.
There you go.
Well, you were talking about kids, and we don't have kids, but I know that a lot of our listeners do. When you are working through this, and as a client of yours or someone who is trying to get through decluttering or organizing and changing the mindset, how do you get kids on board, or how do you recommend doing that?
Yeah. So I had an experience with this long before any of my education came around for organizing. I one day got busted. My son came home from school. He was probably in second grade or first grade, and he saw his schoolwork in the trash can. And it broke my heart because he said, "Mom, like, why did you throw this stuff away? I worked so hard on it." And I was just trying to keep things moving. We can't possibly keep all of your papers every day. And but I saw how affected he was by it, and I never did it again. I think the best thing you can do is model for them. So as you are going through your things, be vocal about it. Say, I just don't love this anymore. I bet someone else would. I'm going to donate it. And they will pick up on that. Oftentimes, I donate stuff almost weekly, which is crazy. I guess like my things are having babies in here. And so I'll have a box by the door on the way out. And I'm like, well, we have to stop by the donation drop first. And, there's things we just don't need anymore or whatnot. And so they get a sense for that. And then I often talk to them about, you can't find so-and-so maybe because you have too much in your room. Let's focus on what you're really into right now. And just kids change maybe even more rapidly than adults, but our tastes and things change. Our hobbies change, our interests change. And so allowing your belongings to change with those things is so important, because if you were a knitter and you've decided you absolutely cannot knit and you want to take up watercolors, well, let's move the knitting stuff out of the house. And so we just have those conversations in their rooms about, are you really into this anymore? Or is this something we can pass along?
Right.
And try to keep it casual. I know there's a lot of moms who joke about like the black trash bag. They bring the black trash bag around and fill it up. And I will admit, I will toss something in, but I try really hard not to, because I just don't want to lose that trust. That day when I thought, he doesn't trust me. And I felt it for months, honestly. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I thought, I really screwed up. I don't want to lose that trust again. And we try to have the conversation more. And you know what? If he wants his room to be a pigsty, which he doesn't, but thank God. But if he does, then that's just how it's going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make him get rid of things, because as soon as they feel pushed to get rid of something, they're going to hold on so much tighter.
Right.
Yeah.
So listen, we're probably not the first to introduce you to the topic of CBD or CBD oil. If you're anything like us, it seems like every time you turn around, you're seeing a neon sign for CBD sold here at your local grocery store, in a window as you're driving by, or it flashes across your screen in an online ad.
Shannon's sister told us about the benefits she was having from a brand she was using, and then we started paying attention to that brand.
Spoiler alert, that brand is Danodan. Full transparency, we get about 2 to 3 CBD brands reaching out to us every week. And it wasn't until we started digging into the research that we learned that CBD isn't always CBD. They're just not all the same.
Danodan Hempworks makes organic hemp flower infusions. They're more than just CBD. Danodan's range of hemp products dissolve easily into any liquid and support your routine by helping you manage daily stress, promote healthy sleep, provide caffeine-free energy, and recover from activity-related stiffness and soreness.
They also have CBD hemp flower infusion specifically designed for pets, and Betty White uses it every day. She loves it. We put it on her food. And with Dan, you'll enjoy all the benefits of legal hemp, not just one or two compounds isolated in a lab. Get 20% off right now with the code ADVENTURE at danodan.com. We'll link it for you in the show notes. That's 20% off right now with the code ADVENTURE at danodan.com.
Danodan, more than just CBD.
So having never been to your home, although, your social media presence, and I mean, we can see right now, our listeners cannot, but do you have an area of your home or a junk drawer or something that's not organized? Or, I think about Monica from Friends with the closet where she just kept all of her stuff in there. Do you have something like that in your home, or do you keep it really, really organized? Are you willing to admit?
First, let me say, absolutely. I have no secrets. I don't have many secrets. First, let me say that there is a difference. Okay, I'm very comfortable right now with the priorities I have chosen in my life.
Okay.
So if you come into my house and things are not perfect, which they will not be, I'm cool with that because I would rather be living outside at the pool, on the beach, talking with you guys than like keeping this picture perfect home, And I've also, I'll just answer your question. Absolutely. If you could see, I'll show you the storage, and this is kind of ironic, I guess. The storage closet where I keep my organizing supplies for jobs is like the closet of irony. Because it is the most disorganized closet of organizing products one has ever seen.
That is so funny.
That is funny.
Yeah. Because there's stuff coming in and out constantly.
Yeah.
And it has not been a priority to create a system to contain them. So we just wing it. And one day when I'm tired of dealing with it, then I'll figure it out and do it. But right now there's just so many other things I'd rather be doing.
Well, we have a similar situation with some back storage because we have so many things coming in with these certain brand things we do, and they're going in and out. It's a little revolving door back there at a storage area,
Oh, that's great.
It drives me crazy though, but we do something similar with the donation. Like when you were talking about, the donation box once a week, I'm like, over there at Loaves and Fishes, they know me really well. I'm over there once a week. I'm donating stuff. I can't stand it. I don't have anyone to model for, but we do it. I can't stand it. But then, and we talk about this with our community too, that we had the no buy year last year. And we were like, this is a routine we're just going to keep. And even though we don't just buy frivolously, it's like all of a sudden you just look around, you go, where did all this crap come from? Like, where did this stuff come from? And why is it hanging out in the house? And so you just realize every once in a while, we just need to declutter. We just need to get control over it.
Yeah. And what really brings me peace with the state of our home and its lack of perfection is I know that it can look like a tornado has come through on, a busy weekday, but I can get it in order in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think
that's how we are. That's how we are.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
Of the difference between having a chaotic home and it's stressing you out and having a chaotic home and it not stressing you out. Is how quickly can you get this resolved when having that resolution is important to you.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like what you said too about having the priorities straight. And I think that's something that I'd say but I think I need to be reminded of that. I know that I'll wake up sometimes on a Saturday or Sunday and go, no, I can't go to the beach. I need to get the house together. I need to get it together. And I need to stop that. And you say, no, let me go and have a day at the beach and I can get the house together later or whatever. I need to chill out with things like that. What is the most common excuse that you see or that you hear from people about getting rid of their stuff or decluttering at all?
Right. Most people say that they need it just in case. Like they might need it one day or they use it at Christmas or, something like that. And one of my favorite sayings, and there's privilege wrapped up in this, is let the store be your storage. Meaning, you don't have to own everything. You can go to a secondhand store, buy that water pitcher or buy those entertaining pieces you need for an event and then just donate them back.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which I thought was a really smart idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was just thinking that, and we learned from when we were sort of researching the tiny house community a while back and when you're living, we don't live in a tiny house community, but we really love the idea of it, is when you live in a tiny house community, and we've learned to utilize resources of our neighbors, is borrowing. I mean, gosh, if you just ask someone has whatever you need, like a shovel. We do not own a shovel. And we only need one and maybe a couple times a year.
Yeah.
And we borrow it. I mean, it's just little things like that.
Well, there's even like an apps for that now, I think, too, where you can share.
I've heard about Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I guess, I mean, gosh, I guess it all goes back to just not having the same type of community that we used to, where, I mean, a lot of people don't know their neighbors, so they couldn't ask for a shovel. Like,
that's true.
I'm so-and-so, do you have a shovel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd rather just get on Amazon and have it delivered the next day.
That's true.
Yeah. And you don't want that first time you met somebody when you haven't talked to them for 3 months being, hey, but anyway, getting to why I'm here. I need some of your stuff.
I need a shovel. Yeah. Don't ask me questions, but I need your shovel.
Right. Yeah. Oh gosh. Don't ask any questions.
And go back inside and shut your blinds.
Oh, that's so cool.
I have a sort of side question. I can't get it off my head, but maybe it's not quite in the flow here. But I was wondering, because I'm thinking in terms of, there's a certain kind of person, and I think that might be somebody who's a little more introverted at times, really loves their books, or they really love, let's say, their albums or CDs. And do you ever get approached with that kind of thing? Because I'm thinking I sort of lean that way. Now, we did get rid of a lot of books, but I have a group of albums on the shelf, and there's probably 120 of them, vinyl, and I have not had my turntable hooked up in a long time. Any of that music I listen to on my phone. But they're really neat to have sitting there. Now, luckily, albums don't take up a lot of space.
Yeah.
And, and that's the case where each one, I can pull out one and go, oh, if there's not a song that triggers a memory, it's like me and my buddy walked to the mall when we were 15 and bought
I love
so
that.
Those are really neat things. But I guess I'm getting a little complicated here, but people can have thousands.
Do you want me to tell you whether you can keep them or not?
No, actually, luckily I think Shannon likes the way they look too. They have that retro sort of.
They do.
Yeah,
they do. He did get rid of some.
Yeah, and books
when we declutter. Yeah, books I got rid of a lot. But I think he is asking you that.
That was a little wordy, but you see where I'm going?
I do. Here, okay. The moment they start feeling like a burden, I think is when that is your cue that it's time for them to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think I have a personal example as well. I had a peace lily from my grandfather's funeral for probably 10 to 11 years. And it was beautiful. I loved it. It was healthy. I didn't kill it. And I loved that it was, from his funeral. It felt very special. And then not long ago, it became a burden because for me, it changed from a memory of him to here's something else I have to take care of. And there is a lot of pressure around it.
Yeah.
And as soon as I noticed that flip of feeling about it, I thought, okay, I'm going to start preparing to let it go.
Yeah.
It was still, it's challenging, and so I moved it. We were in a house up high at like a beach house, and I moved it down to like our foyer area. And then I thought, okay, so it hadn't been in where it has been for a while. And then I got rid of it. It was a weird feeling, but I haven't missed it once. I have so many memories of him. Like my grandfather is not in the plant.
Right. Right.
Your memories are not in those vinyl records. Like they just aren't. So I think as soon as they start feeling, when you think about them and instead of your body like lifting, like, oh, remember this? Instead, if it starts going, oh, the vinyls, that's when it's time to let them go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like your response to that because I think a lot of people, there's a certain group of people like that collects a lot of those things, and they got to wonder sometime, oh boy, I got to scale down. So I'm sure that answer was kind of helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah. But hey, if you love them and you want them and keep them and add to them, more power to you. But you just have to feel good about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still do.
Okay. So
Jerry, is there anything else I can help you with?
Is there anything else that you want to ask her for permission for to keep.
People desperately want me to tell them what to do with their stuff.
Oh, I'm
like,
sure.
Get ready to get frustrated with me.
I know.
My favorite things to do is to try to incorporate people's favorite things in some type of display. Or, for example, closets are a big one. And a lot of people have pieces of clothing that are very special to them, but yet they might not wear them very often. But they don't want to get rid of them because they're, they're my cowboy boots from college, or they're my, or here's my like Valentino clutch, or, just like like all kinds of things. And so instead of like burying those things, like I tried to create some type of almost like a retail store display in their closet. So when they walk in, they see it, they get that feeling, but they don't have to wear it,
Right.
That's pretty neat.
That is.
Yeah, it makes it so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as soon as you say that, it's like, well, let's take that bag out of the dust bag and do something with it.
Yeah.
What's the point of having it otherwise?
Right. Okay, well, let's get to the really exciting, I think for us is definitely exciting, is your Path to Simplified membership. It opened for enrollment last week, which that means I got to get on the ball and go ahead and sign up. It's the 1-year anniversary of it too. Yes, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
So this is the part that I think is really great because I know that you're available for one-on-one services here in Eastern North Carolina, but this is open to anyone. So can you tell our audience about this membership?
Yes. So when I was doing the one-on-one services, I was realizing that a lot of people weren't ready to invite me into their homes. They maybe didn't want to spend the money on it. They didn't have the time for it. And then I had friends outside of our state who were saying, how I need your help. So I created this membership, and I just love community and bringing people together. So I created this membership that has core content that follows people through my 6-step framework, that if they start from the beginning and work through it, they will know everything they need to know to go through and declutter and organize their homes. And then with the way my brain works, I love creating systems for things. Yeah. So life is just easier. Routines are easier. You will not be hunting for your keys and all of those things. And then at the end of the 6-step framework, we go through and just refine and repeat. Nothing is permanent. So we kind of, we look and say, okay, well, what wasn't working and how can we fix that? And what transitions do you have coming up? Around here, being on the water, the things that we need in the summer can be very different from the things that we need in January and February.
Right.
And then for parents who have kids in and out of school, summer could look very different from the school year and those types of things. So I really like to help members and clients think about, this is how it works for you now. What are you going to do to make sure it works for you then? And remind people, nothing's permanent. We have to evolve. Where you're not just organized and then you're like, oh, I'm done. That's it. Never have to think about it again.
Right.
So the membership walks through that process. And then what I think is super fun is we have a monthly live Zoom call. People can bring their questions. They can email them ahead of time. We record it and post it in the membership. And sometimes it's me doing a deep dive on lessons. We just did sentimental items. And then other times we bring in guest experts. So we've had people talk about meal planning, and we've had a pediatrician talking about getting the school year off on a good foot and being intentional in your school year parenting. So I listen to the members and really gauge, what are you interested in now? And how can I serve you in these? How can we simplify other parts of your life also?
So you sort of create really the content about on a need basis of what what they need. Oh, so it's sort of like a support system on an ongoing basis monthly.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a community inside, a forum of sorts. I am not a fan of Facebook. So some people would have a Facebook group. I've got it inside of the course or the community.
Oh, that's
good. And so that way, people will post a picture of like, I got rid of, 55 gift bags that I was saving for,
Yeah.
No one needs 55 gift bags.
Yeah.
Or, someone
Yeah.
else has posted, like, I finally handled or wrangled my kids' artwork. And here's what I'm doing with it. And so we get to share ideas. I don't ever pretend to know everything. So we are always better together. And that's what that community is
Right.
for.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure that this membership was something that also was very beneficial, well, I guess it came on the end of COVID, I'll say, but during the end of, or the COVID time,
Yeah.
it's probably really beneficial for people as well.
Yeah, well, and it's something that you can do on your own time. There's even an app. So the platform that I use has an app to it.
Oh,
So you can put your earbuds in and, emptying the dishwasher while listening to a lesson on finding your vision or how to create systems. Or so I'm a podcast earbud kind of girl. So that
too.
was really, really
Me too.
important to me. Yeah.
Yeah, we love those.
Yeah, we do too. I think that's great. And so is it open for just a limited time?
Yes. So it will be open through the 19th of September. And then we'll go back on the wait list. So we just like to get everyone in and acclimated and kind of, get on the roll. And then we'll open the doors back up, usually about 3 times per year.
Okay.
Sometimes 4. But there's 3 different types of membership where you can join. So there's a 3-month version. I used to have a monthly, but you just need more time than that.
Yeah.
So we have a 3-month and a 6-month. And then for the people who really want that extra accountability or just feel like they just can't do it without some one-on-one, we have a 6-month option that includes 1 call with me each month.
Okay.
So then I can help, light the fire under them or help problem solve certain areas where they just want that one-on-one help.
Okay.
We wanted to take a pause for a second to tell you once again about how much we love Sugar Wish.
If you're a regular listener, Sugar Wish isn't new to you. You already know how much we adore the fact that we count on Sugar Wish to send gifts to people. Why? Because it's easy.
Yes.
It's a time saver.
Yes.
You know the recipient is going to love it because they choose what they want.
That's right.
And it's not a gift that's going to take up space because it's edible.
Yes.
What's not to love?
You forgot something.
What's that?
You save money because we have a code to share with our listeners.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Use code Betty White. That's all caps, one word, Betty White, to save $7 off your gift to someone. We also have the link in the show notes.
Yep. Whether you're gifting someone candy, snacks, tea, coffee, wine, or some dog treats to one lucky pup, that code works to save. Sugar Wish always saves the day. And so I know there's a link for that. So we'll link in the show notes of how they can go ahead and sign up for that. That is exciting.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah, that's a great tool. And I don't know anything like that, especially with the app complementing it as well. So I think that's really great.
Oh, no. Especially, for people, we have that kind of mindset where that's going to be something you're really interested in. That's for sure.
Yeah. You also have, which I loved, the free mini course on your website, the Simplified Island, Discover Your Path to Simplified.
Yeah.
And we're going to also link that in the show notes. And it helps you break down not just the things in your life that cause clutter, but even this is where I really struggle are the time, the tasks, and sort of that vision you keep talking about. I think it was Sarah that I related to.
Okay. Yeah. My girls.
Yeah. You have the 3 that you give examples of their lifestyle. And I think that I encourage everyone to go through that because it really, not only do you give really great tips of how to simplify things, but it really wakens you, just sort of wakes you up to sort of identify some of the things that maybe that you can recognize in your life that you sort of need to work on.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to create those 3 avatars was because, and I struggle with this too, is when I know something is not working, but I can't really put my finger on it. Yeah. And so if you can see it in someone else, then it's a lot easier to say, that's what I'm dealing with. Okay, now what should she do? Because I probably need some variation of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to link that down in the show notes as well. So we're going to get to the rapid fire that's never really rapid fire, but we're going to give it our best shot.
Okay, I'm going.
Time.
I'm determined.
And these are, some of them are sort of tailored to you and or maybe lifestyle prioritizing, but we also use these to sort of get to know you. And so we think that these are good personality questions, right?
Oh, yeah. They sure are very general type of personality
Jerry's
questions.
really lit up.
I light up
He
for this
loves
one.
this. It's Gary's favorite part.
This is I get to feel like Jimmy Kimmel or one of these late night talk show
Oh my
guys.
gosh.
For
Yeah,
some reason,
the
I
top
feel that
10.
way.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it always seems appropriate for me to take the odd numbers for some reason.
Okay.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Okay. So I'll start with number one: sunrise or sunset.
Ooh, rise. I'm an early bird.
Me too.
Yeah, I like
Me
that.
too.
Mhm.
Wine or coffee?
Coffee. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and we're having some now, so it's really nice. How about more free time or more sleep?
Ooh. I think free time. Can I sleep in my free time?
Yeah.
No, I think more free time. My brain, I like to have some
Mhm.
decompression time.
Yeah. Dine al fresco or indoors?
Oh, outside all
Yeah.
the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Which my
I-
husband works outside, so he's a landscaper, and so he very rarely wants to then eat outside, which I think is why I think it's so
Oh.
wonderful, is because we don't do it very often.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That sure
It's like
does.
I've been outside all day. I don't want to eat a meal out there.
Oh, so it's a real treat when you get to.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, recharge with solo time or socially?
Oh,
how do you
solo. Big
Yeah.
old introvert over here.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
In fact,
That's surprising.
well, I love like deep one-on-one connections. A lot of people, social, it really drains me. It's exhausting. Yeah. And
you read a lot about that too. Yeah, where the introvert likes the one-on-one more and the extrovert likes the group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your episode on HSPs, I was like, I'm with you. I'm with you,
Oh.
Jer.
Oh,
Yeah.
did that connect with you?
Oh yeah. Big
that's
time.
neat.
Big time. Yeah.
I think that stuff's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been very sensitive to noises and lights, and like, please do not take me to a concert. That is one of like my nightmares.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
like too stimulating. I can't stand like. Anyway, that's for another day.
I
But
mean-
yes, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
oh, neat,
interesting.
neat,
And it's interesting. And I know I've said this before, but it's interesting how COVID and the isolation and all that changed people. It definitely changed me. I was definitely more extroverted before. And now I really find my alone time very sacred. Like I really, really
Mhm.
thrive on it now. Whereas before
Yeah.
I didn't really care so much, but now I love it. Is it my turn?
It is your
Oh,
turn,
okay.
yeah.
Book or audio?
Book.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Smoothie out the door or 2-hour brunch?
Once upon a time, it was a 2-hour brunch, but my reality is smoothie out the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate them both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather go for a run or walk or relax in a hammock?
Oh, exercise. That is my therapy. That is my saving grace is moving my body, especially outside, but just anyway.
Yeah.
It makes me a nice person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I can
same.
relate. Yeah.
Same. It helps our mental health for sure.
Yeah.
A handwritten letter or email?
Oh gosh, I want to be the person that says handwritten letter, but I think, I mean, when it's appropriate, I'll certainly do that. But email for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah. Okay. I almost hate that you're not asking this one, but Jerry asked everyone this one because he thinks it's really important. And I'm sure you've heard it before if you listen to our podcast, but
It's one of the deeper ones, one of the
Mhm.
more thought-provoking.
ketchup or
That's
mustard?
Oh, ketchup. I am not into mustard. Oh.
Oh, boy.
Something. I'm like, what am I about to have to reveal
Jerry
to everyone?
thinks that the ketchup or mustard question really is impactful. And I always say, well, what does that say about that person? He's like, well, I don't really know, but because everybody answers it so differently. But anyway.
It is the most fun for some reason. I don't know. But
I'm
always
going to
save
need
the
to
last.
see a chart with like who's on one and who's on the other.
I know.
Maybe at some point you'll be able to like will be some other commonalities.
Yeah, we should do that at some point. Maybe after a year of the podcast, we'll do that.
Go back through and count. Like
Uh-huh.
the ketchup column.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well, we do ask this of everyone. It's the most important question is what does a life well lived mean to you?
I think it's just having, it's not just having the courage to check your own boxes, you know, and also the curiosity to know that it could totally change, and that's okay too. But just, courage
Yeah.
to check your own boxes.
I
a lot
love
harder.
that.
It's a lot harder to do than it sounds.
Yeah.
It is your own boxes. It is harder. It is.
Mhm.
But yeah, the courage, I think, is lovely. I think that's a wonderful answer.
Yeah, I don't think we've heard it put that way yet. So I really appreciate that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
I love it. And you are definitely living that life, and I love it.
Mhm.
Well,
Well, thank you.
Caroline, I have loved this, but I would love for you to tell our listeners how they can find you. Of course, we're going to link how they can get signed up for the membership and the free. First of all, I did want to make sure that they know about the free tools and resources you have on your website too, because I did find those. I love that we are using a lot of them. Made me feel validated.
Yeah.
But there were some that we
Yeah.
found on there that I love. What were we going to say?
Oh, I know. Several times during the podcast, I was thinking to myself, we already do that.
Oh, I know. It was meant to be. We were meant to connect.
I know.
Yeah.
But tell our listeners how they can find you.
So I do enjoy Instagram. My introverted self, like I will DM with you all day long, but please, you will not find me on stories very often. So Instagram is at the Simplified Island, and the website is thesimplifiedisland.com. Yeah, I avoid pretty much all the other socials.
Yeah, that's kind of how we are. They're a necessary evil, I think.
Yep.
But yeah, well, we're going to link all of that in the show notes, and we cannot thank you enough for hanging with us today. We have loved this,
Thank
right?
you.
I can't imagine a better way to spend a nice Saturday morning. It's always fun. Like I tell Shannon that I feel like we're having somebody over, kind of, and it's nice. Somebody over for coffee and a little chatting, and
Yeah,
I
That's
feel the
awesome.
same way. It's rejuvenating for me. It's
Mhm.
awesome. I love it. I love
Yeah.
talking about it.
yeah. Well, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Wow, I mean, she was great, right?
Yeah, she was really something, and just so in line. Her story of recent years just runs right in line with most everything that we have done and gone through.
I know. I think
Mhm.
that every time we have a Spark in Our Lives guest, which I guess is the whole purpose of every time we have a guest on, we have so much synergy. But with Caroline, I mean, we talked about it after the recording, is that we even told her, wow, we have so much in common with, their trajectory of how they got to the coast,
Well, yeah, no, indeed.
Mhm.
Yeah, and getting more into detail about that, just her style of minimizing and decluttering and whatnot. We've a lot of things I felt like, oh, I already know that. Like, yeah, I do some of the things she's telling me, although she had a lot more to tell me then.
But I think as we have learned from our last year and moving into this year, you may know it, but you number one, you need reminders.
You do.
And then number
Yeah.
two, it's sort of like, yeah, you know how to ride a bike, you get on the bike and you still can ride it. But all of a sudden it's like, you might not be as smooth of a rider as you were.
Yeah, no.
So you need some practice.
Great to always have that reinforcement. Yeah.
Mhm.
And with someone as pleasant as her, and she has just a good way of coming across. And I'm just sure she's good with all the clients that she shares her information with.
Yeah. We know some people who have worked with her one-on-one and who have done the membership, and they have wonderful things to say. And Jerry and I are going to sign up for the membership actually in just a few minutes. And it's like you were saying, if, we may feel like we're really great at decluttering and we're really great at organizing, but I think what I want to do is I want to master it. I want to put things into place that we may not know. And I think, signing up for her membership is going to have a great support system to, put some practices into place that we may need some refreshers on.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely reinforcing what we already know. And I would only imagine just a wealth of new information that we'll get from her. That'll really round out our knowledge of decluttering and such, I think. Yeah.
And she's refreshing.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's going to make it interesting and fun. And
Uh-huh.
she's not going to come at you from a pedestal and tell you how to. She's just gonna.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a person that's gonna try to fit it to your needs as well as she can.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, listen, if this episode resonated with you, we would love it if you could screenshot it and share it on your social media and tag us and tag the Simplified Island, tag Caroline, and let her know that you really enjoyed it, and follow her, and you'll get some really great tips and tricks on her social media. And we'll put the links, like we said, down in the show notes so that you can sign up for her membership. As always, you can find us at arneradventures.com, on Instagram at arneradventures, also linked in the show notes.
So until next time, enjoy the journey that you're on. We're wishing you lots of adventures.
Bye.